You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
You have a heart of a giant, show it. You got the pride of a lion, roaring. Maybe you need big love, you don't need to give up. 'Cause something real is waiting there for you. You've been flying solo, now it's time to let go. The only thing that's left for you to do.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scott with Pike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. It's a pleasure to welcome back. Delighted to always have on the show Suzanne Mulvey. Suzanne, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on again.
Thanks very much, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
I'm looking forward to this. There's a full round of fixtures as well. We've got obviously SWPL with 9 games across the 2 leagues and with a full round of Scottish Cup action. So it was a busy weekend.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of shock results, a few good results, and then kind of at the top of the table, just what you'd expect again.
Yeah, we'll obviously get through the leagues and talk about kind of the games there. The Scottish Cup, we'll get through the results. The draws taking place last night, so we'll get your thoughts obviously on some of the ties. There's some entertaining ties to have a look at as well. But SWPL 1, it's been a busy weekend, 5 games. Motherwell will play Partick Thistle on Friday. Was the game that obviously didn't take place. I think that's going to take place this Friday. So, but probably the best place to start is probably Aberdeen. A 1-1 draw with Spartans. Obviously been a bit of a hectic week at Aberdeen with Emma Hunter and Gavin Bede leaving. Some reports that they were dismissed, some reports that they resigned. The official line is they resigned. Bit of a weird one considering obviously, like I know obviously the form hasn't been great at the start of the season, but that change took place after a big victory last week. It was kind of out of the blue when you actually think about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They've obviously Emma and Gavin have done a great job up there, in terms of getting them promoted twice. They've been relegated twice, so to get them promoted twice, and then obviously have a good season that they did last season. I think they've started a bit this season, but Aberdeen's a tough place in terms of recruiting players, so I think it's always going to be tough for them. Relying on a few kind of younger players or a few stars as well. It's maybe let them down. A lot of the teams are kind of aware of what threats they've got. They've been able to kind of combat that. So I think that's been the main problem for them, obviously, this year. But yeah, a bit of a surprise. And I actually thought when I first heard it that it would possibly be because Emma's maybe and Gavin have maybe got offered, another role because they've done so. So, hopefully they'll stay in the game and find something because they've done a great job.
Yeah, I like to think they will. I think they're 2 terrific people in the game, and I do think they're good enough to go and get another job elsewhere should they want to. But it was a draw for Aberdeen, a 1-1 draw at home to Spartans. Ogilvie with a goal for Aberdeen, Mason for Spartans. Puts Aberdeen in 8 points from 12 games. They're beginning to get back into the hunt. We like to. They're only 2 points behind the D-United, a point behind Hamilton. Spartans are sitting in 13 points from 12 games. They've been kind of relatively consistent as well. Probably an even result by all reports. I think it was a very tight game.
Yeah, I think near the end, either team could have snatched it. They had quite good chances, especially Aberdeen had a kind of maybe 2 or 3 good chances near the end to snatch that. But overall, it probably was a fair result. And obviously, Spartans are kind of known as the draw specialists. They've had probably more draws than any other team. So for them to go, there and get the draw probably is a good result for them.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 sides that are probably relatively even. Tight game at Glasgow City, a 2-1 victory for the league leaders. They obviously stay 2 points clear at the top of the table. Michaela McAloney put Hibs 1-0 up, but Clark brought it back to 1-1 and an own goal secured the 3 points for Glasgow City. Again, it's that thing with Glasgow City, isn't it? I know that 1 or 2 teams still unbeaten, but when you can dig results out like that, when maybe you aren't playing so well, it puts you in good stead if you're going to mount a title challenge.
Yeah, if you look back, it doesn't matter. They've got the points on the board. It doesn't matter how they won. And at the end of the season, if your name's on that trophy, it doesn't matter. If it was 1-0 or 5-0, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, goal difference could, near the end of the season, could come into factor. But at the end of the day, they're still unbeaten, and they're still looking good in terms of grinding out the results. Great finish by McAloney. What a great goal that. Clark showing what a threat she is at set pieces, and also mention as well the fact that they're scoring the set pieces. Hayley Lauder and obviously Maddie Fulton as well. For the other side in swinging, and I don't know if that's possibly Hibs. They're known that they're quite weak, and I think the Hibs manager Dean Gibson keeps pointing out that they're weak at set pieces. And if I was me, I wouldn't be highlighting that because you put extra pressure on them if you know they are. But yeah, you can see that kind of the last 3 goals they've conceded, obviously last week against Hearts as well, it's all been set pieces. So disappointing for them.
Yeah. Do you think, obviously, with Glasgow City, like maybe last season, obviously the first time they'd lost the league, do you think there's a bit of a kind of fire in them this season because they're no longer kind of the champions, they're just desperate to get it back? And you see there's a lot of players performing, like Megan Foley, a player I want to highlight as well. She's really upped her game this season.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard because for me, and I think I've said this to you before, Glasgow City were always a team that kept their core of players, and they just added it. They got rid of players that maybe weren't up to scratch, or players that went on to play professional in other countries, and then they bring in better players. Whereas they've struggled a bit with obviously the recruitment that Rangers and Celtic have done. So it's a different type of player that they're bringing in. They've got a lot kind of more foreign players. So it's not the Glasgow City of old where, they know the league, they know how to be a winner, they are winners. So it is a bit different for them, but with the likes of, obviously, Eileen Gleeson's done a great job, she knows how to grind out the results. And obviously, you've still got Joe Love, Hayley Lauder, like what you're saying, Megan Foley, players that have been around for a while. But also, a big, massive point for them would be Leanne Ross on the sideline. She's an absolute winner. And, every training session, whether, it's a wee kickabout or whether it's a passing drill, she'd expect the standards to be so high. And I'd imagine for the sideline, it's probably worse because she can see everything. She's not having to focus on her own game. So for her, she'll be keeping the standards high, which is great that they've managed to keep her on and brought her in as a coaching role when she retired.
Yeah, absolutely. Rangers obviously still in contention as well, 2 points behind, a 10-0 win away to Glasgow Women. Colette Cavan away, a hat-trick, Nicola Docherty, Lizzie Arnott with a double, Howard, Martinez and Hill with the goals. Again, Rangers probably getting into that game thinking they would, again, probably goal difference. I think probably they're 19 goals clear. I think a lot of them would have been against kind of Glasgow Women. Kind of that. Those are the games you kind of probably will need to score a lot of goals, and a fairly routine victory for Rangers, I would say.
Yeah, and the big thing is they made so many, was it something like 9 changes or something they made, so lots of changes, but the players that they brought in, you see it doesn't make any difference. They've just got probably the biggest squad and the strongest squad in the league in terms of, obviously bringing back Cathy Hill after injury. She's been out for 4 months, she comes in, she scores a goal, a couple of great diagonal balls for goals as well to set up players. I think she's on a diagonal to set up Lizzie Arnott. So bringing her back, and the captain as well, that's a big boost for them before the cup final. And then obviously Colette Cavan as well, bringing her in and scoring a hat trick. If you're wanting to be picked for the cup final next week and you've been out for a while, to come in and score a hat trick, so obviously putting your name right in the hat, so well done to her.
Yeah, absolutely. See, in the kind of other side of it, obviously Glasgow Women, that's a 12 straight defeat after coming up. Like, what do you kind of do? How do you kind of motivate the players there? Because obviously they're in the end of some kind of bad results and things like that, but is it more about kind of getting the experience as well, like kind of getting that? Because a lot of the players will maybe be at an early stage in their career and maybe will want to kind of either move on and play at a higher side and things like that. But is this more about kind of just getting experience for the players and getting them kind of motivated to? Because it's difficult. We said at the start of the season it was always going to be difficult for that side to make that step up.
Yeah, I think for them, and I don't think it's being disrespectful saying that they probably will be, the bottom of the league by the end of the season. It's not mathematically impossible yet, but you can't see them taking many points or even teams around them. Yeah. Obviously they've got Andy Gardner in there, who's a great guy, he knows the game really well, and I think his biggest thing will be to recruit, obviously, kind of at the end of the season, but it is looking like they're going back down. But for me, the players, it is just about getting experience and going into every game. And if I was the coach or I was involved there, I'd be saying to them, take as much as you can from these, games that we're going to be playing, because this is the top opposition. If you're playing against Rangers, if a player beats you one way, just think, right, how can I prevent her from doing that the next time? And it is about learning on the job, I feel like, on the pitch, learning as much as possible, and then obviously taking that into next season, possibly when you've got, obviously the hard task of trying to come back up, because there's a number of great teams in SWPL too, so it won't be easy for them, if they do go down, to come straight back up again. But yeah, it's just learning. You're not going to come up against better players in the league, so just take as much as you can from every game. Build on your fitness, build on your, I say confidence, but it is more, if you're able to take a good touch and do a good pass against great opposition like Rangers, then you're going to be able to do it against weaker opposition. So it's just trying to take as much as possible. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you've kind of summed it up well there. I think we knew at the start of the season that it was going to be difficult for them to make the step up, but as you say, it's an experience thing as well. They're playing against players at a high level, and I know probably like when you lose 10-0 and 13-0 that your head does go down, but it's all about what you do next week. It's all about like they'll be looking ahead to the next game and thinking, right, we can go one better here. But do you know what I mean? That's what you probably need to do at that kind of level.
Yeah, they obviously, the closest they came to getting anything was probably against Hamilton when Hamilton scored.
Yeah.
You know, they scored a last minute goal. Josie Gear did. So I think going into that game, they'll maybe think, you know, we were that close against Hamilton. Let's actually see if we can do one better and actually take a point or even take a win. But again, you know, obviously Hamilton are you know, they've got more experience, they're fitter, you know, a few games into the league. So, you know, and they'll be wanting to prove a point as well. You know, they won't want to think, you know, we were that close to Glasgow Women, so they want to, you know, have maybe a 2-3-0 scoreline. So it'll be an interesting one when they come head to head again.
Yeah, absolutely. Big win for Celtic as well. A 7-0 victory over Dundee United at home. Shenji Mengu with a hat-trick, Larissa Gallagher and 2 academy graduates getting goals as well. Maria McKennie with her first goal and Birchall made it 7. Again with Celtic, we've spoke about this a lot. We thought they were losing goal. We thought they were going to lose a lot of goals, but when you've got players chipping in like Mengu with a hat-trick, obviously Lucy Ashworth-Clifford's out injured. That's another big player they're going to be without for a while. Like, they're going to need these players to chip in, and they're certainly, obviously, Lee Gallagher got a hat-trick a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of players in there who are chipping in, and that's going to be good for them. Yeah,
definitely. Obviously, Ashworth Clifford, you know, with the ACL injury, it is a massive loss for them because she was playing so well. She was direct. She provided a lot of assists, obviously chipped in with some goals as well. But they've got quite a strong squad as well. They've probably, you know, as close to Rangers as you like in terms of the players that they've got that they can bring on, and obviously the young players as well. The likes of them and Rangers are obviously kind of, you know, paving the way in terms of, you know, bringing players through and giving young players opportunities. Yeah, routine again for them, routine win, clean sheet. But yeah, I'd like to point out Clarissa Larissy. Obviously, we mentioned it at the start of the season that they've missed goals with Charlie Welland.
Yeah.
She's stepped right up as she did in the cup final. You know, she had a great job there. But her movement, I like her movement. I think that she's came on and she's brought more to her game, and it's a movement that I like for me. She makes great runs for herself, but also to open up space for her teammates as well, which is great when you see a striker able to do that as well, be less selfish and move players about. So yeah, just routine again, and they're still looking strong to challenge at the top of the table.
And I think you saw it last week as well with obviously the Old Firm game between Rangers and Celtic. It was so even. There was, could you say it was boring? Possibly it wasn't. I don't think it was a spectacle for the. Yeah, it was very. It wasn't a game for the neutral, but it was one of those things. Like I think a lot of people were saying with the kind of top three, like with Rangers winning last season, they would probably go on and build on that. But you're seeing with the three sides. I know there's 3 points in it. It's so tight between them when they play each other.
Yeah, it is, and it's really good for, you know, for a neutral or even for, you know, if you're a Rangers fan, Celtic fan, Glasgow City fan, it's good because you don't want a team to be running ahead of it because, you know, they don't improve and then go into the Champions League. If you've not played against good opposition, then you do struggle. You're a bit behind. So I'm really enjoying it. You know, it's great. And obviously there's a couple of other teams we've not mentioned, Hartships, you know, that are right up there, kind of almost challenging or kind of staying, you know, with that top group team. So yeah, it's great. It's interesting. And as I say, I'm absolutely loving it. You know, there's some great players on show, some great goals as well. So it's really good for just a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned obviously Hearts, their final game of the weekend in the top league. Hearts 5, Hamilton 0. Katie Rood with a double. Timms, Mitchie and Smith made it 5. Really another really impressive performance from Hearts. They've probably been the team you would say outside the top 3. They've been far and away the best team to watch. Some of the goals are really good. Rood's been a really good addition to the squad. They're getting kind of they're beginning to click. Obviously, the big game at the weekend last weekend against Hearts, Hibs, with the big attendance, but a big performance again, and they keep rolling.
Yeah, I think they're doing brilliant this season. I think that obviously Georgia Timms had, you know, hit the ground running at the start of the season, banging in the goals, and she has started a bit, you know, a couple of months without a goal back on the score sheet. And although she did miss a few, you know, quite easy chances after that, I still think scoring that one goal, you know, after the game, you look at it, right, I've scored, the monkey's off the back, that's it. And I think she'll just go on and try and keep scoring. In terms of Rood as well, she's brought something fantastic. But for me, I think that the biggest player that they've brought in is Kaylin Meekie. I think that she really impressed me at Hibs, and then obviously she went abroad, went to Glasgow City and didn't really feature much, which for me was a bit of a puzzle because I've always been impressed with her. So to come in and you can see that, she's really confident on the park. She's a good passer of the ball. She's aggressive. So I think that's a great sign for them. I think she's adding to the fact that they're doing so well. I think that her kind of being around there, the experience that she's had at the team she's been at as well would help the younger players around her. So I'm really enjoying watching them. I think they're really good. And I think for them the next step would just be trying to see if they can get a result or a draw or something against one of the top teams, because that's the next step. If you're sitting fourth, obviously there's a couple of teams on their tail, but for me they're looking good for that position at the moment, fourth spot.
Hamilton as well, another difficult result. They've been kind of up and down as well, kind of 3 wins, 9 defeats out of 12 games. So they'll be looking to just get a couple of wins on the board again, because once you get one, you can get a few, and they're not a million miles away. There's a kind of a crop between 5th and 11th now beginning to. There's only 7 points between 5th and 11th. There's a crop beginning there, and Hamilton will be thinking 2 wins and we could be right up the table again.
Yeah, for me, I think Hamilton's biggest problem is that their forward players, whenever they get the ball, which isn't a lot, they are under pressure a lot. The forward players really isolated. It's either taking a long time for the rest of the team to get up, or the team's just sitting that deep that they're not pushing forward. You've seen that. I think that their first chance at the weekend was in the second half, and it was Josie up front on her own and isolated. She's never really had many options at all. So for them, that's what they kind of need to be working on. Getting more players forward and creating more chances. And again, it's difficult because they've had a couple of good results, a couple of surprise results, and they're still a good team with some really good players. So it's disappointing that they're not getting as many results or as many points on the board as they should. But again, as young players, so I'm sure that they'll keep progressing as long as they keep learning and developing. I'm sure they'll be fine. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll move into SWPL 2. The game of the weekend undoubtedly was Montrose 2, Gartcairn 0. Amy Colley with a double. It reduces the gap of the Gartcairn's lead at the top of the table to 2 points. Again, 2 sides obviously coming up very tight at the top of the table now. Montrose, that's a massive win, obviously beating the league leaders and reducing that gap. It can do you the world of good going forward.
Yeah, if they had got beaten, that would have been 8 points ahead, and you're kind of 8 points ahead. You're thinking that's it, possibly over and done with. Reducing that to 2, absolutely massive for them. And obviously Lynn Cullen with the double, that's amazing. So massive result for them. Gartcairn are still in a good position. I think Bobby called it at the start of the season that he thought they'd be the surprise package. He thought they'd do well. So it's brilliant to see them doing well. But yeah, Montrose shown that they're obviously a good strong side and obviously coming away with the victory. So that's definitely the probably result of the weekend. In terms of league position and in terms of you're not wanting to go into a playoff, you're wanting to take that top spot so that you're automatically an SWPL win. So massive for them.
Yeah, absolutely massive result for Montrose. A massive win for Queen's Park as well, puts them to 4th in the table with a 5-1 victory away to Stirling Uni. Callahan with a double, Daly, Tweedy and Chisel making it a big win for them. See, when obviously Craig was on a few weeks ago, I was asking him about it. He said the was beginning to look that it was kind of, you had the top 5 at the time, and you looked maybe at Queen's Park and think, can they get into that level? They're certainly showing it. They're in the mix now. They're in a good position, and that's a massive result to score 5 away from home.
Yeah, he's been around football a long time, Craig, and he knows a lot of the players in the leagues. He knows women's football, so I think for him it's just taking him a bit of time to get across to the players the way that he wants to play and how he can grind out some results. But obviously, 5-1 away, and Stirling have been a bit of a surprise. They've had a couple of half decent results, and so to win 5-1 is absolutely huge. Comfortable victory for them, and as you say, bringing them closer up to the rest of the teams above them. So yeah, great result for them.
Absolutely. Kilmarnock came from behind to beat East 5-2-1 at home. Monica Harty were second goal back in her second game after injury, and Laura McLaughlin with a late winner to give a massive 3 points to Jim Chapman's side. Again, Kilmarnock, they're beginning to get players back. Monica Harty, I feel, could be a big player for them once she's back from injury. Big 3 points, especially when you're 1-0 down.
Yeah, definitely. Great comeback for them. And the most important thing for me is for them is just to pull a wee bit further away from Boroughmuir. It's important to get points on the board, but it's important to leave that gap as well so that teams don't catch up with you. And obviously, the higher up you finish, the better. But yeah, again with them, I just think it's the same as with Queen's Park. It's just going to take time. Jim Chapman, he knew the women's game, you know, a while ago more than anybody else, but he's a fantastic coach and you know, he knows how to get the best out of players. It just maybe taken a bit longer than what people maybe expected for it to kind of gel there. But yeah, you know, I think that possibly next season they could be massive contenders. But yeah, no, a great result for them, obviously coming back for a goal down. So yeah, great for them.
Brilliant result for Kilmarnock. Boroughmuir Thistle 1, St Johnstone 1, very even game. Courtney McAvoy gave Boroughmuir the lead, and Steffi Simpson with her first goal for St Johnstone to get a point there. Again, two even teams, very even result by all reports. Probably both sides will be happy with a point. I think both sides will be happy just not to lose the game more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Boroughmuir was one of the teams that I thought would be right up there this season because I know their manager, you know, Susie Shepherd really well. So for me, you know, it just overall so far, you know, a bit disappointing. But obviously, like you says, it's important not to lose. You know, in these situations, you just need to get as many points. If you're not, you know, at the top end of the table, the most important thing is make sure you're not at the bottom end of the table. So just picking up as many points as possible for both the teams is really important.
Yeah, big result in SWPL 2. Obviously, means Montrose are now sitting 2 points behind. You've got St Johnstone, Queen's Park, Kilmarnock within 2 points each other, third, fourth, and fifth. And Boroughmuir will be wanting to get some wins in the board. But we'll move into the Women's Scottish Cup third round. A lot of games to look at here. We'll just go through the results and obviously get your thoughts on a couple of big surprises. Inverness 2, Livingston 1, Giffnock 3, Falkirk 5, Bonnyrigg Rose 3, Queen of the South 1, BSC Glasgow 1, Dryburgh 5. Airdrie 2, Morton 3, Hutchie Vale 2, FC Edinburgh 1, Stenhousemuir 2, Central Girls 2, Central Girls won that 5-4 in penalties. Westite 6, Linlithgow Rose 1, St Mirren 2, Rossvale 4, Ayr United 5, Renfrew 2, and Grampian Ladies 7, Dundee West 2. Probably the best place to start is probably Ayr United 5-2 win at home to Renfrew. I know that obviously there's a big gap in the league, but what a performance that is to win 5-2 at home and book your place in the next round.
Yeah, definitely. You know, obviously you want to do well in the league, but if you can get a wee cup run, you know, it's fantastic to do that. So for them, quite a comfortable, you know, 5-2, great result for them.
You look at kind of some of the results, like the likes of Inverness, Falkirk, Dryburgh, and Morton. Big one for Hutchie Vale actually beating Edinburgh 2-1. I thought that would go the other way. I thought Edinburgh winning a really good run at the top of the league. There's no many big shocks that stand out, is there?
Kind of Inverness, you know, obviously I think there's a 20-point gap between the teams, so you know, come away with a victory there. But it's, you know, it's tight. It's really tight. You know, we've said before, and kind of, you know, the Championship and League One, any team can beat anybody because it is, you know, really tight.
Yeah, two big results. Obviously, Bonnyrigg Rose a 3-1 win over Queen of the South. What does that do for them? Obviously, getting into that hat, and we'll touch on a wee minute as well. Big tie they've got in the next round.
Yeah, you know, it's whether or not some people want a good run, you know, so they want kind of teams around them so they can keep progressing. But you know, it doesn't matter. I feel, you know, if you're going to win it, or obviously teams like that possibly aren't going to win it, but you want to play big teams. You want to push yourself against the best players. So for me, you know, if I was playing in a lower kind of division team, I'd want to play big teams. You'd want to put yourself up against the top players to see, you know, what you can do, and you know, to know that's the best in the country. That's what I'm aspiring. Because there'll be a lot of young girls. That's what I aspire to do. And even, you know, some players maybe support the teams that they're going to be playing against as well. Yeah. So it's massive for them, for their family, you know, watching if they're playing against Rangers or Celtic or whoever. So it's a great occasion, the Scottish Cup, obviously, and it's, you know, that's why it's so magical. You know, bringing teams together that don't normally play against each other.
Yeah, Central Girls went through in penalties, a 5-4 win over Stenhousemuir. Again, probably the only result you would say where a kind of massive kind of shock. Like Central Girls as well, that's some result for them to go to Stenhousemuir because they've been a pretty good run.
Yeah, Stenhousemuir have been doing brilliant. So obviously, you know, to keep it tight, and that's the most important thing. You know, if you can keep the game as tight as possible for as long as possible, then you're always in with a chance. And obviously, going to penalties, you know, is 50-50. Whoever's, you know, kind of more focused at the time. So massive for them, and obviously brilliant that they won that shootout.
Yeah, so the fourth round draw has been made. It was made last night. Just a few games I want to get your thoughts on. Celtic go to Falkirk. That'll be some occasion for Falkirk to welcome Celtic.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You know, there'll be girls there that possibly support Celtic or even support Rangers. You know, so coming up against Celtic, it's great. You know, and they're doing well as well. So it's, you know, it's absolutely amazing. As I say, you know, for Celtic, they'll be thinking, let's go. You know, make a comfortable victory. Just make sure we're in the next round of the hat. But for Falkirk, it's so much more. Obviously, they'll be going, you know, to make it as basically as uncomfortable as possible, and obviously stay in the game for as long as possible.
So, mate, there's 3 SWPL 1 games between two sides. Dundee United play Hearts, Glasgow City host Hamilton, and the other one, Hibs play Spartans. 3 games like that, like, it opens a place for kind of 3 other teams outside of them to go on big runs, because that's 3 gaps in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, each of the ties you think possibly could go either way. You know, there's Hibs Spartan, you just don't know. So again, it's fantastic for the cup. It does give other teams opportunities. Whether it's Gartcairn or Montrose, it gives them an opportunity. Obviously, when I was at Motherwell, we done it. We were top SWPL 2 and we got right to the final.
Yeah.
We're not in the scoreline by, but obviously going on that run and obviously beating Spartans in the semi-final, and then obviously playing Hibs in the final. It's amazing going on that run, because it's a thing that you don't think that you're going to be able to do that. All the way against the top teams. So obviously, the easier the draw, the better, or the kind of easier pathway to the final, the better. So yeah, great opportunity for some teams to basically get their name out there, and obviously prove that they should be an SWPL 1.
Yeah, it seems to be like, obviously, the Scottish Cup, it seems to be a lot more kind of publicity towards it as well. You see the draw getting made last night, like, live. It seems to be a lot more, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not kind of prestigious, but there seems to be a lot more work going into it to make it a kind of real competition again.
Yeah, as we've said before, there's so many players involved behind the scenes that go kind of unnamed and don't get the credit they deserve. But the work that's going on behind the scenes is absolutely fantastic, and we can see that in the progress that's been made over the past few years. Again, it's not as great as what's happening maybe down south, but they've a bigger country, more players, more publicity. They've got all their games kind of on Sky or FA Player. Or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Any progress that we make up here is good progress. So it's fantastic. You want that. You want as many games as possible on TV. I think sometimes when there is big scorelines, it doesn't look great. But players don't care about that. If you're a Celtic or Rangers or a Glasgow City and you're beating teams 6-7-0 and it's live on telly, you want that because you want to show how good. But yeah, no, great progress going forward. And I mean, obviously, like we said, there's a few tight ties. It's always good when it's a tough final, like obviously what we've got coming up to the weekend. You want that. You want it to be a good competitive game. For perfect example, last year, with Celtic winning, the late goal. You want something like that because it does make the occasion better. But there is a few teams kind of lower down that can cause a bit of an upset. And again, it's just great for other teams and other players to get involved that wouldn't normally be kind of in the limelight.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a great occasion. We'll move on. We've got 2 cup finals to talk about this weekend. We're at December. We're at the stage of a cup final. Big occasion at Tynecastle on Sunday. Rangers play Hibs in the Sky Sports SWPL Cup Final. I'm pretty sure it's live on Sky Sports, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But that's going to be some occasion as well. But it'll be a big crowd. It's going to be some occasion, actually. It's going to be there's a lot going into this. You saw obviously Nicola Docherty and the Hibs captain get interviewed during the week as well in Sky. There's a lot getting into this game. It's going to be a really good occasion for the women's game.
Yeah, obviously being in Edinburgh, the crowd that they had last weekend for the Edinburgh Cup, it was fantastic, 8,000. So if they could create that again and get as many, if not more, because obviously it's Rangers, they always have a big crowd with the fan base that the men's team have got, and also the players as well. They have a lot of family and friends that'll come and watch as well. So if they get a big massive crowd like that and in a big stadium like Tynecastle, it's fantastic for the game. In terms of the result, people would maybe think Rangers would run away with it, but they've had a couple of tight encounters, this season. And for Hibs, again, it's just trying to stay in it as long as possible. If Rangers score an early goal, or 2 early goals, it could be game over. And like we pointed out before, if I'm Rangers, we're working on set pieces, getting the ball right on top of the defenders and the goalkeeper. So for me, that would be key, and that could be where it's won or lost for Hibs. Let's see if they improve and they actually work on set pieces and manage to not concede any.
Yeah, right. Give us a wee prediction.
I think that Hibs have got goals in them, so I don't think that the Rangers will keep a clean sheet, but I think that they probably will be too strong. The players that they've got, the options that they've got on the bench as well, I'd say possibly 4-1.
I was going to go 4-2, actually. I think there'll be a lot of goals in this game, but it's going to be some occasion. Again, it's obviously with the kind of men's football not back until next weekend, though a lot of people will go to that game and they'll be like, as you say, there's 8,000 at Easter Road the other night. It's going to be a really good crowd. It's going to be good. It's going to be good as well, obviously, the Sky cameras to see just how advanced it is now, because that's a Sunday. It's a perfect time. There's not really much else on in the women's game. I know we've got the other cup final we'll talk about in a second, but a lot of people will go to that, and it'll be really good actually.
Yeah, in the past, again, it's no disrespect for other stadiums that have hosted or whatever, but when it is in Glasgow or Edinburgh, the capital city or Glasgow, a big footballing city, it does create a bigger crowd, and I think that's a positive thing. I think it's going to be a great occasion, and I really do hope there is a massive crowd there to watch. So always, when it's on telly, well, if it's cold, will people go or not? But it's not the same, when you're live at the game and you're soaking up the atmosphere. Obviously, I predicted 4-1. I hope it's a lot closer, for obviously a neutral, or for Hibs as well. I'd like it to be a really competitive game, but I just see Rangers being far too strong for them.
There's another cup final as well on Sunday. Dryburgh Athletic play FC Edinburgh in the SWF Championship and League One Cup. It's some achievement for both sides to get into that cup final. Obviously, Edinburgh flying high at the top of the league. Dryburgh are doing not as well in the league, their league in the Championship, but it's going to be some experience to play in a cup final, and again, it could be a really, really good contest.
Yeah, I think, like we said, it's just important to stay in the game as long as possible, and in a cup final, anything can happen. I think they're both really good teams that have proven that they deserve to be in the final, so I think that, if they both go out there and give 100%, I think it'll be an amazing spectacle. And obviously great for the women's game and our competitive game that's enjoyable to watch. In terms of the result, you think FC Edinburgh probably could, pip it, but again, the most important thing is stay in the game as long as possible, and anything can happen.
Yeah, I think I could give Dryburgh a wee chance as well. They just seem to be a different team. They've not been although they've not had a win in the board in the league, they've been getting beat like 2-1 and 1-0s and things like that. It's not like they've been. They are capable of keeping it tight. Edinburgh are capable of scoring goals as well. I think this could go all the way. Actually, I think it could go to a penalty shootout. I think it'd be quite good. Actually, I think I'm torn between picking a winner here. I think it could go to penalties, and after that, it's a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think it'll be a great game anyway. I think it'll be tight. I hope it's tight. It's always good. You never want to see one team away with it. But yeah, I think it'll be really, really tight. Possibly 1-0 or 2-1, or like you say, go all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be some weekend for the women's game. We're not going to have a show next week. We'll wait until the week after, where we've got a full fixture list in the league. We'll do a wee round up of the two games. Obviously, we've got the Motherwell Partick Thistle game as well on Friday night. But we're going to wrap up the show there. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Suzanne. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant, pleasure. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please follow us on social media for more consistent women's football coverage. And as always, subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels for our weekly women's show. Thanks very much. We'll see you soon. Cheers.